I was hit by a car. To be precise, I was hit by a runaway electric trike. The driver was an old man selling vegetables. The trike was stacked with Napa cabbage, flipped on its side, and I was flung 3 meters. He ended up half buried in greens. The ambulance wailed all the way while I lay on the gurney, perfectly conscious. Me, Jenna, 26, unremarkable office drone whose only talent is saving money and only hobby is horizontal living, lying there, staring at the white ceiling, a thought popped into my head. If I faked amnesia, could I skip paying off Afterpay? Wait. I should be thinking, if I fake amnesia, can I squeeze a fat check out of my nemesis? Colton. I've known him 26 years, fought him 26 years. At Little he snatched my gold star sticker, at Oak Ridge he tore my homework folder, at Riverdale he slipped a caterpillar into my backpack, and during Morgan he handed my love letter to the homeroom teacher. College finally freed me, until we graduated and he became the marketing director one glass tower over. Enemies on a narrow road, that's us. Last week's RFP shootout, he stole our company's pitch. I jabbed a finger at his nose in the conference room and cussed him out for 30 minutes straight. He just smiled and poured me a cup of tea. Jenna, he drawled, anger's bad for your health, sip some tea. I almost smashed the teacup over his head. Now I'm the one hit, strapped to a gurney, and the idea ricocheting inside my skull is, fake amnesia and scam him for a couple million? Once the thought landed, it would not leave. Eyes shut, I began outlining the script. Chapter 1, Tragic Crash, Fragile and Helpless. Chapter 2, Sworn Enemy Overcome with Guilt, opens his wallet. Chapter 3, Cash in hand, vanish to some beach, live the horizontal dream. Perfect. I'm a genius. Hospital air, same old nauseating cocktail, antiseptic, cotton swab, distant groans drifting down the corridor. I lay in the private ward playing Freshly Awakened, eyelids cracked just enough to spy. The room was empty except for me. A fruit basket sat on the nightstand, sunshine poured through the window and toasted the white sheets. I marshaled my emotions, ready to debut the moment the nurse walked in. The door opened. Not a nurse. First came the gleam of Oxfords, then crisp suit pants, then a pressed white shirt, and finally, Colton's face. My act nearly shattered on the spot. What's he doing here? Checking if the crash finished me off? He reached the bedside and looked down, eyes carrying that familiar half-smirk, impossible to read. Awake? He asked, voice low. I kept my squint, pretending hazy consciousness. He waved a hand in front of my face. Can you see me? I stayed still. Know who I am? I know, of course I know, I'd know his ashes, but I can't say. Slowly I widened my eyes, letting confusion flood them, and croaked, who are you? Acting, nailed it. Colton's expression froze for half a second. In that flash I caught something in his eyes, not surprise, not suspicion, but something else, gone too fast to name. You don't recognize me? His tone was unreadable. I shook my head, then added, I don't remember anything. He lapsed into silence, then the corner of his mouth curled. That smile sent ice down my spine. Years of rivalry have taught me, whenever he smirks like that, someone's about to suffer, usually me. Lost your memory? He echoed, a strange note in his voice. He pulled the chair over, sat, and spoke in unhurried sentences. I'm your fiancé. My brain short-circuited. Say what? He is my what? Your name's Jenna, he went on, as though pronouncing a verdict. I'm Colton. We grew up together, childhood sweethearts, a childhood betrothal since we were toddlers. Weddings next month, then the crash happened. He paused, gaze resting on my face, gentler than lake water at dawn. Jenna, you really don't remember me? I lay there, dumbstruck. Fiancé? Sweethearts? Toddler engagement? Wedding next month? Did the trike hit his head too? No, it hit mine. Yet here he is, spouting lunacy. I parted my lips, dying to retort, but reason screamed, don't break character. Right now I'm an amnesiac blank slate, whatever he writes, I have to accept. We are? I managed, layering bewilderment over my voice. He nodded, clasped my hand. His palm was warm, fingers slim but threaded with firm, inescapable strength. We've been together since kids. You used to trail after me calling Colt Big Brother. When we grew up, we dated. You said you'd marry nobody but me. Listening to this fairy tale, my brain screamed. Sure, I tagged behind him as a kid, but only to reclaim the gold star he stole. Marry no one but him? I'd rather wed the crawler vendor downstairs, but I can't say that. I can only gaze at him, struggling to look touched. I I'm sorry, I don't remember, I whispered, injecting a quiver. No worries, he murmured. If it's gone, we start fresh. He leaned closer and pressed a kiss to my forehead, cool as his usual self. I stiffened, heart misfiring, not from flutter, from shock. Colton, the man I've warred with 26 years, the guy I mentally stab with a voodoo needle daily, is kissing me? Why? What does he want? Footsteps clattered outside, the door burst open. Jenna, my mom's voice. I yanked my thoughts back into the amnesiac lamb roll. Mom rushed in, Dad and Ryan on her heels. Seeing Colton at the bedside, their expressions tangled. Casey's here too, Mom said, tone delicately odd. Colton stood, polite nod, Mrs. Vance, Mr. Vance. Mom hurried over, eyes reddening, Jenna, honey, does it hurt? Any discomfort? I shook my head, gaze vacant, you are. Mom froze. Dad froze. Ryan froze. 3 beats of silence. Then Mom's tears spilled. Jenna, you don't recognize your own mother? I gave a bewildered headshake. Dad grasped my hand, sweetheart, what about Dad? Another shake. Ryan elbowed in, Jenna, it's me, your real brother. Still shaking. Chaos engulfed the room, Mom sobbing, Dad soothing, Ryan sprinting for the attending physician. Only Colton stood quietly to the side, a ghost of a smile lifting the corner of his mouth. That expression looked like everything was under his control. My heart gave a lurch. Something was off. He was too calm. So calm it felt as if he'd known all along I would lose my memory. The attending physician arrived, ran a battery of tests, and finally announced, retrograde amnesia, probably from the knock to my head. Whether it would return, and when, was anyone's guess. When Eleanor heard that, she cried even harder. Colton stepped forward and steadied her arm. Mrs. Vance, please don't be too upset. Jenna's alive, that's what matters. The memories can wait. From now on, I'll take care of her. My mother lifted her head, something unreadable flickering in her eyes. Casey, she began, you. Aunt Eleanor, he cut in gently, Jenna is my fiancée. Looking after her is only right. My mother opened her mouth, closed it, then finally nodded. I watched from the sidelines, suspicion mushrooming inside me. Fiancé? Why hadn't she objected? She of all people knew exactly what Colton and I were, lifelong rivals. She'd witnessed every clash for 26 years. So why the silent approval? The day I was discharged, Colton came to pick me up. He'd brought a black sedan, understated, expensive. I didn't recognize the brand, but the fluid lines and mirror-bright paint screamed money. Get in. He held the door for me. I hesitated on the curb. Where, exactly am I going? Home, he said. Which home? He met my eyes, the corner of his mouth lifting. Our home. My brain? Our home? Since when did we have a home? I couldn't ask, so I slid into the seat like a good little passenger. Half an hour later we eased to a stop outside a high-end complex. I forgot the name the moment I saw it, but the grand gate, crisp-suited guard, and manicured lawns left an impression. He parked and walked me inside. The elevator opened on the penthouse level straight into an expansive flat. Scandi minimalist decor, black, white, gray, chic, icy, just like the man himself. This is our place? I asked. He nodded, took a pair of women's bunny slippers from the shoe cabinet, and set them at my feet. Your slippers. I looked down. Pink, fluffy, rabbit ears. I stared for 2 full seconds. These were galaxies away from my usual taste. He'd done it on purpose, right? Don't like them? He asked. And no, they're fine. I slipped them on and walked in. The living area was huge. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows the city skyline glittered. A charcoal sofa faced a low table topped with a clear vase of white blooms. I scanned every corner for proof that I had ever lived here. Nothing. The vanity was bare. The closet held only men's clothes. Rowan held a single set of toiletries. This didn't look like a couple's crash pad. More like a bachelor pad he happened to own. We live together? I asked. Yeah. He moved behind me. But you stormed back to your parents' place after our fight a few days ago. Your stuff hasn't been picked up yet. That explanation barely passed the plausibility test. So for now, stay here, he said. Easier for me to look after you. I turned. Backlit, his face wore a softness I didn't recognize, same striking brows, straight nose, chiseled lips, but gentle, too gentle. In 26 years he'd never once treated me tenderly. Sarcasm, barbs, outright indifference, those I knew. This version? Alien, what's wrong? He asked. Nothing. I looked away. Just, not used to it. He smiled and ruffled my hair. You will be. The gesture was light, familiar, like he'd done it countless times. My heart missed a beat, from sheer creep factor. Cohabitation officially began. Colton took leave to keep me company. I lolled on the sofa, munching from a fruit basket, binge-watching shows, occasionally ordering him to fetch water or a blanket. He obeyed without a grumble, living the dream. If the guy opposite me weren't Colton, I'd have embroidered him a merit banner. Jenna, he said, settling beside me, feel like going out? I shook my head. Too lazy. Then what do you want to eat? I'll cook. I squinted. You can cook? He nodded, dead serious. Your favorite used to be my sweet and sour ribs. I almost snorted. I hated sweet and sour ribs. He wasn't misremembering, he simply had no clue, which meant we'd never been a couple. Oh, I answered, letting it pass. He headed for the kitchen. I lay back, abacus beads clacking in my head. He wanted a performance? I'd give him front row seats. When the curtain finally fell and the lies collapsed, I'd expose him and milk a fat settlement. Perfect. 30 minutes later the dishes landed on the table. Sweet and sour ribs, garlicky greens, tomato egg soup, a bowl of steamed rice. They looked good, they smelled better. I bit into a rib, and blinked. Tender, tangy, melt in the mouth perfect. Well? He watched me, expectant. Not bad, I mumbled, reaching for another. He sat, chin propped on one hand, smiling as I chewed. The smile made my skin prickle. Way too tender. You're not eating? I asked. I already did, he said. Enjoy yours. I buried my face in the bowl, trying to ignore the laser gaze. Halfway through, he reached over and brushed the corner of my mouth with his thumb. Sauce, he murmured, as casual as breathing. I froze, pulse hiccuping. This time not from shock, from the warmth of his finger. Warm, slightly calloused, sending a tingle across my lip. Emery, I whispered, resuming my attack on the rice. He withdrew, saying nothing, but I felt the weight of his gaze, soft, focused, as though I were a priceless vase. Night brought the big question. Sleeping arrangements. If we were a couple, we should share a bed, right? But it was his bed, his room, and I definitely wasn't mentally prepared. Reading my panic, he said, You take the master, I'll crash in the guest room. I looked up. We fought because I kept working overtime and ignored you, he added, voice flawlessly sincere. The attending physician says you need quiet. I'll sleep downstairs while you recover. I exhaled in relief. Then, good night, good night. I slipped into the master, shut the door, and sagged against it. Today had been wild. First, mortal enemy turned fiancé, then transported to his lair, then those ribs, then the thumb on lip. Hold on, the thumb swipe, way too natural, as if practice had made perfect. I walked to the mirror and stared at my reflection. My face felt a little hot. I couldn't tell if it was from the heat, or something else. I took a deep breath and told myself, stay cool, Jenna, stay cool. He's acting, and so are you. Whoever falls for it first loses. I lay down on the bed and shut my eyes, but his face kept flashing through my mind. The gentleness in his voice, the way he looked at me, the warmth of his fingertip when he wiped the corner of my mouth, and the kiss he pressed to my forehead when he leaned down. Cool, featherlight, like a snowflake landing on my heart. I rolled over and buried my face in the pillow. Couldn't sleep at all. I woke up late the next morning. Sunlight slipped through a crack in the curtains and painted a gold stripe across the floor. I lay there blankly for a while before it hit me. This is Colton's place. I sat up and rubbed my eyes. On the nightstand stood a glass of water and a folded note. Jenna, I've gone out for breakfast, back soon. Colt. The handwriting was clean and strong. Definitely his. I stared at that word, Colt. He wants me to call him Colt. Known him 26 years and I'd never once called him that. When we were kids it was Sawyer the Skinflint, later it was Sawyer the Scoundrel, and eventually just his full name. Colt sounds ridiculously sappy. I set the note down and got up to wash. Rowan, my toiletries were already arranged in neat rows. New toothbrush, toothpaste, cleanser, towel, all pink, clashing wildly with his black-white-gray bathroom. While I brushed, I noticed a half-open cabinet beside the mirror. I pulled the door wider. A scrapbook. Old, edges worn soft. I took it out and opened to the first page. A little boy, maybe 3 or 4, under a big tree, smiling until his eyes curved into crescents. Colton. I turned another page. A group shot. Him, me, a few kids I didn't recognize, standing outside little in our uniforms, faces grubby from whatever game we'd been playing. I paused. I have this photo. Mom keeps it in her box. Third page, Oak Ridge Field Day, me running the 800-meter, him cheering on the sidelines. Fourth, Riverdale Spring Trip, sharing a bench, him holding out an ice cream to me. Fifth, high school graduation, caps and gowns, his arms slung over my shoulders, me laughing at the camera. Every picture had me in it. From age 3 to 18 or 19, year after year. Some I recognized, others I'd never seen. When did he take them? How come I never knew? At the last page, a Polaroid, Alex, judging by my outfit, last winter. I'm asleep against a sofa arm, a blanket tucked up to my chin. He's sitting beside me, head tilted, gaze so gentle it melts the film. Underneath, in his handwriting, Jenna napping, looks like a kitten. I stared until my heart skipped. Who took this? Him? Why shoot me sleeping? And why stash them here? What does it mean? Jenna? His voice snapped me back. I shoved the scrapbook into the cabinet, slammed the door, and walked out like nothing happened. He stood in the living room holding breakfast. Seeing me, he smiled. Up already? Come eat. I sat at the table. He unpacked soup dumplings, soy milk, crullers, everything I like. Wasn't sure what you wanted, so I got a bit of everything, he said. I bit into a dumpling, mind still cycling through those photos, moments of me he'd captured, every single year for 2 decades. Why keep them? When did it start? What is he trying to prove? Jenna? He called again. What's on your mind? I blinked. Nothing. He studied my face. Sleep okay? You look pale. I'm fine, I said. Slept great. He didn't press, just bowed his head and ate his cruller. Sunlight streamed in, brushing him in soft gold. His lashes cast tiny shadows, lips pursed as he chewed, serious about breakfast. I thought of that Polaroid, him looking down at sleeping me with an ocean of gentleness. Was that gaze real or staged? If staged, he's Oscar-worthy. If real, I shut the thought down. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. We've fought for 26 years, no way he likes me. Day 5 of cohabitation, and I'm getting used to it. Used to the bedside glass of water. Used to breakfast waiting when I emerge. Used to him peeling fruit and draping blankets over me on the couch. Used to the low, sugar-coated way he says my name. Too used to it. Dangerously used to it. That afternoon he took a call and said he had to run out. Meeting I can't skip, he told me. Stay put, I'll hurry back. I nodded. Go, go. Once the door shut I lolled on the sofa, scrolling my phone until I remembered. The scrapbook, the cabinet, the photos. Almost without thinking I went back to Rowan, opened the cabinet, and took it out. I settled on the couch and flipped cover to cover, lingering on every print. Shot after shot I had no memory of. Rainy day at a bus stop, me drenched, him holding the umbrella tilted entirely my way, half his body soaked. My birthday, eyes closed in a wish, him stealing a glance lit by candle flame. Me passed out on my desk after overtime, him draping his coat over my shoulders, watching me with helpless worry. Too many, too deliberate to ignore. Staring at them, I felt something odd. Not touched, not shocked, but uncertain. I couldn't tell what these pictures meant. Couldn't tell real from fake. Couldn't tell what we actually were to each other. The lock clicked. I slammed the album shut and shoved it behind my back. Colton stepped in carrying shopping bags. Finding me on the sofa, he paused. Sitting there alone? And no reason, I stammered. He set the bags down and walked over. What are you hiding? I opened my mouth, nothing came. He bent, slipped the scrapbook from behind me. He opened it, leafed 2 pages, then lifted his eyes. Why were you looking at this? He asked, voice calm. I met his gaze and suddenly didn't want to act anymore. Colton, I used his full name. I need to ask you something. He raised an eyebrow. Shoot. Are we really a couple? He said nothing. Everything you just told me, I went on, childhood sweethearts, perfect together, getting married next month, was any of it real? He looked at me, eyes impossibly deep. What do you think? I think no, I said. We're sworn enemies, have been for 26 years. At last week's RFP shootout I literally jabbed my finger in your face and called you names, remember? He didn't deny it. So, I dragged in a breath, why put on this whole show? Silence. A long, stretching silence. Then he set the scrapbook aside and sat down next to me. Jenna, he said quietly, do you honestly not remember a thing? I stared back without answering. He turned his gaze to the window. Sunlight slid across his face, softening the usual hard lines. Last winter, he began, you were drunk. I blinked. Company holiday party, you'd had too much. I drove you home. In the car you went wild, rattling off every crazy thought in your head. He paused. You said, Colton, I hate you. My heart gave a thump. You said, I've hated you since little when you stole my Gold Star stickers, ripped up my homework folder, stuffed a caterpillar in my backpack, handed my love letter to the homeroom teacher. His voice stayed low. You listed them for 10 full minutes. I stayed silent. Every item was true. I do get talkative when I drink. Then you said, he turned to meet my eyes, but after hating you all these years, I still can't forget you. My heartbeat missed a beat. You said, Colton, can you please just vanish? Every time I see you my heart races, my palms sweat, my mind goes blank. It's torture. He held my gaze. Jenna, do you know how that felt? I opened my mouth, nothing came out. I like you, he whispered. Have liked you since Riverdale. I froze. What? I bullied you because I didn't know how else to get close. Snatching your Gold Star stickers was the only way to make you look at me. Ripping your homework folder meant I could talk to you while we argued. The caterpillar, how do you justify that one? I cut in. He hesitated. Total accident. I meant to slip in a flower, but my deskmate swapped it for the caterpillar. Me. Jenna, he went on, I've done plenty of stupid things. Only one was true, I like you. His eyes rested on my face, gentle and unwavering. That night you said those things, I realized you felt the same. I thought we could finally be together. He stopped. The next morning you woke up remembering nothing. I asked if you recalled what you'd said. Nope. Asked if you liked me. You answered, Colton, in your dreams. I stayed quiet. I didn't remember, really didn't. After that we kept fighting, he said. Kept arguing, kept pretending we couldn't stand each other. I thought you were faking, that you refused to admit the truth. I told myself, fine, I'll wait. He lowered his head. I waited a whole year. Then came the news of your crash. Jenna, when I saw you lying in that private ward, staring at me with that lost look, I decided, if this was the chance fate was handing me, I'd grab it. So you claimed you were my fiancé? I asked. He nodded. And all those pictures? I said. From age 3 on, when did you even take them? He blinked, then smiled. It was a soft smile, tender, nothing like his usual smirk. Some I shot myself, some I got from your mom, he said. Every photo of you, I have a copy. I stared, speechless. 26 years. He's liked me for 26 years. I never knew. Jenna, he murmured, now you know. Still want to keep pretending? I stayed silent a long time. Then I said, I never lost my memory. He stilled. I faked it, I said. After the crash it hit me, what if I milked a payout from you? His gaze turned complicated. But you jumped in first, called yourself my fiancé. So I thought, why not, we'll both act, see who cracks first. He stayed quiet a few beats, then laughed. A real laugh, eyes curving into crescents, mouth wide. Jenna, he said, you're unbelievable. Takes one to know one, I answered. That night we sat on the sofa and talked for hours. About when we were kids, about all the ancient history, about years of hurting and missing each other in turn. Remember, he said, Morgan, when you wrote that love letter to the class president next door? My face burned. How did you know? I saw you writing it, he said. That night I waited in the schoolyard, wanting to tell you something. You walked past me, didn't even glance, headed straight for their dorm. He paused. I stole it later. I gaped. Excuse me? When you weren't looking, I pulled it from their mailbox, he admitted, looking guilty. Changed a few words, stuffed it back in. What exactly did you change? The addressee, he said. Class president next door became Senior Colton. Me. And then? Did you get it? I did, he said. But I never opened it. Why not? He met my gaze, lip tilting. Because I wanted to hear it straight from you. I fell quiet. How many things has this man hidden all these years? Jenna, he said softly, so, can you tell me now? Tell you what? What did that love letter say? I looked into his eyes. Deep, bright, like they held whole galaxies. I thought of every heartbeat whenever I saw him. Of lying in bed after every fight, mind spinning with his face. Of how every time he snapped, Jenna, you're such a pain, laughter glinted in his gaze. Of the things I drunkenly confessed. I like you, I whispered. Have liked you for a long, long time. His eyes softened into liquid warmth. Then he leaned down and kissed me. Not the forehead peck he'd given before. A real kiss. Warm, soft lips, a hint of cool mint. His breath surrounded me like a tide, pulling me under. I shut my eyes and slid my arms around his neck. The kiss stretched on. So long I almost ran out of air. When he finally pulled back I stared into his eyes and laughed. What's funny? He asked. Us, I said. 26 years of war, and we end up together. He laughed too. Jenna, he murmured, you know my biggest regret? Not telling you sooner. Tell me earlier and I wouldn't have waited so long, I said. I nestled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Colton, I asked, can I take that scrapbook home? It's all yours, he said. I made it for you. When did you start? Last winter, he said. After the night you got drunk. I blinked. I figured you wouldn't remember, that it was just tipsy rambling. But what if? What if you actually liked me? He paused. So I started collecting these pictures, he said, thinking that one day, when you remember again, I could show them to you. I looked up at him. And what exactly are you trying to prove? That I've always been there, he answered. From age 3 to right now, always. The next day I went home. When Mom saw me she froze for a second. Jenna? What are you doing here? Where's Casey? He's at the office, I said. Mom, I need to ask you something. What is it? Colton and me, are we really engaged? Mom's expression stiffened for a heartbeat. Why are you asking all of a sudden? Mom, I said, locking eyes with her, tell me the truth. She stayed quiet a long while, then exhaled. No, she said. There's no engagement. I went still. That boy Casey, he's liked you since we were kids, Mom continued. Your dad and I always knew. But he never said a word, so we never pried. Then why didn't you expose him that day in the hospital? Mom looked at me, her gaze layered with too many things. Jenna, do you know Casey was the first person to reach the hospital the night you crashed? I blinked. They were loading you into the ambulance when he happened to be nearby. The second he realized it was you, he jumped in his car and followed. We got his call while we were still driving and learned what happened. When we arrived he was standing outside the ER bay, shaking. I'd never seen him like that, face white as paper, eyes bloodshot. Mom paused. Later the attending physician said you needed quiet, so he planted himself beside you and wouldn't budge. That day he told me, Aunt Eleanor, whether Jenna remembers me or not, I'm going to take care of her for the rest of my life. My eyes stung. Mom, why didn't you tell me sooner? Tell you what? She asked, studying me. That Casey likes you? Don't you already know how you feel? I said nothing. I knew. Of course I knew. I'd just been too scared to admit it. Jenna, Mom said, taking my hand, I've lived long enough to read people. That boy's heart is genuine. I nodded. All right, head back, she said, patting my hand. Don't keep him waiting. I stepped outside, the sun was perfect. Standing by the gate, staring at the sky, I suddenly remembered Colton's words. From age 3 to right now, always. He had always been there, and I'd only just realized. When I got to his place he was already home from work. Seeing me, he smiled. Back already? I nodded. He walked over and ruffled my hair. Miss me? I looked into his eyes and said nothing. He hesitated. What's wrong, Colton? I said. Mom told me everything. His smile froze. You didn't lie about the engagement, I said. You only said what you've always wanted to say. He stayed silent. Were you terrified that day in the hospital? A few seconds passed before he dipped his head. Terrified, he murmured. His voice was soft. Scared you'd lost every memory, scared you'd forget me, scared we could never get back what we had. Watching him, my throat ached. Yet you still put on that act, I said. Claiming to be my fiancé, bringing me home, cooking for me. Jenna, he cut in, do you know why I staged it? I shook my head. He closed the distance and looked down at me. Because you once told me, if the day ever comes when you forget the whole world, you hope someone will stay beside you no matter what. I froze. When did I say that? That night you were drunk, he said. You told me, Colton, if I ever lose my memory, promise you'll find me and tell me you're the most important person to me, so I'll still have something to remember. His voice was low, like he was holding candy on his tongue. So, Jenna, I came to find you. Tears finally spilled. Through the blur he looked gentle enough to be a painting. Colton, I whispered, you big idiot. He laughed, brushing my tears away. Idiot it is, he said. Got here in the end, didn't I? I rose on my toes and kissed him. This time I made the first move. 3 months later, after work I walked in and found something new in the living room. A picture frame. Inside was a photo of us as kids, maybe 5 or 6, standing under a big tree, faces streaked with dirt from some game. Like it? Colton asked, slipping his arms around my waist from behind. Where was this taken? Kindergarten graduation, he said. You'd fallen and cried forever. I coaxed you until I finally handed over the lollipop my mom gave me. Only then did you stop. I blinked. I don't remember that. Of course you don't, he chuckled. All you cared about was the candy. Staring at the shot, something clicked. Colton, you say you started liking me in middle school, but this is from kindergarten. I just thought you were cute back then, he said. Riverdale was when it turned into real feelings. Why Riverdale? He was quiet a beat. Because that day you wore a white dress, running laps in the schoolyard. Sunlight hit you, and when you passed me you glanced over. He paused. One look and I knew I was done for. I tilted my head. Done for how? He gazed down, smiling. My whole life, lost to you. I laughed, stretched up, and kissed the corner of his mouth. Congratulations, I said. Worth the fall. Outside, the sunset was perfect. Gold poured through the glass, warm on our skin. Suddenly he asked, Jenna, can I ask you something? What? That love letter, did you actually write it to the homeroom teacher in the next class? I blinked, then grinned. Nope, he raised an eyebrow. Then who? I held his gaze and said slowly, you, Colton. He went still. I was too shy to deliver it, I said, so I used the homeroom teacher as cover. If anyone found out, I'd just say I'd mailed it to the wrong guy. Several seconds passed before he wrapped me tight in his arms. Jenna, he whispered against my ear, do you know how many years I've waited to hear that? I pressed against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. How many? 26. I smiled and circled his waist with my arms. And now? Now, he said, every second was worth it. Far away, city lights flickered on one by one. Leaning against him, I remembered the first line he spoke in the hospital. I'm your fiancé. Back then I thought it was just a performance. Now I know he meant every word. From age 3 to right now, always. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and share with friends. We'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more great stories. See you next time.